Hey guys, how's it going? Thank you for joining me, everybody. Yeah, I was going to talk about this story I came across from Noah Berlatsky, White Kids, Racism, and the Way Privileged Parenting Props Up an Unjust System. So, essentially the gist of the story is, there's too many white kids in privileged schools, etc. So, just a bunch of fucking bullshit. But I'll wait a little bit until a few more people get into the stream in order to start reading the story, because I don't want too many people to miss it, right? But seems like it's already moving up pretty quickly. About 7 or 8 people. There's no booze in here. It's just water. It's not vodka, anything like that. It's a good mason jar. That is a very good cup. Hey, how's it going, man? How's it going, Cliff? Nice to see you too, man. Nice to see your name, because I always like right wing fee. I couldn't really always say it. Hey, RIP from Alberta. Hey, Northern Patriot. Long time no see, man. It's been a little while. You should start making content again, man. Julie Mora, how's it going? Are you there? I got a great big beaker, a liter size. It's really cool. Yeah. Why not? The bigger, the better. You get a big, I don't know, pickle jar or something. That's glass. They made it. They formed it. Why would you waste it? It makes no sense. Hey, Slavy McSlaverson. Yeah, man. Good. That's good. And also, old white guy started making videos again too, so that's good. I like watching his content, but it seems like it's moving up pretty quickly here. I'll probably start reading the story, but it just these stories really fucking get me. And first of all, I got to talk about the people who generally write these types of stories. Now, it's by NBC Think in its opinion analysis essay. And it's called White Kids, Racism, and the Way Privileged Parenting Props Up an Unjust System. But the person who's writing about it is Noah Berlatsky. And, it always seems to be, in my experience, that there is a lot of, and I'm not alt-right or anything like that, because as soon as you talk about this, you immediately get labeled that. But there's a lot of Jewish people writing a lot of like anti-white propaganda, and they look white, and they're always talking about white supremacy, yada yada yada, but they never talk about the disproportionate disproportionate representation Jewish people have, and like the media, the thing that he's writing right now, they make up like 1% of the population. And same with businesses, right? How many times do leftists, they show you a picture, it's all white men, and they're like, look at this business, it's all white guys running it. But then you look at their last names, it's like Diamond, Berlinsky, some Insky, or whatever. And you're like, okay, wait, like 60% of these guys are Jewish, but everybody thinks they're white, and they flip-flop between being white. Like, I don't know, I'll say Jewish people are white. I don't give a shit. I'm not, who cares? But they're like, 1 minute they're like, I'm not white, I'm Jewish. And then the next minute they're white, when it makes the rest of white people look bad. Whereas it's like they're massively represented in like business and media and all this other things. But they just get seen as white people. And it's like, if you take them out of the equation, we would be underrepresented a lot of the times. But, they flip-flop back and forth. And that really fucking ticks me off. And I see that a lot. Next time you see like a really race-bitty article like that, look at the journalist who fucking writes this shit. It's ridiculous. Like, there's another tweet I saw from this girl earlier. Her name is Nicole Silverberg, and she's a comedian who writes for what's that really shitty woman comedian in America that that always attacks Trump, and she was on the Daily Show. She's Canadian, but she writes for her, and obviously she writes for her because the comedy sucks. but even in comedy and all that stuff, there's lots of nepotism that goes on in Hollywood among Jewish people. But her tweet is, "I'm thrilled to share that I've organized free, low-cost workshops about late-night comedy for women, LGBTQ, non-white, and disabled writers in New York." So non-white, you know. So what, Nicole Silverberg. So it's like, are you white? You look pretty fucking white to me, but non-white. So it's like, you know, it's like, I don't know. She looks like a white person, but apparently she isn't. So it's like, okay, but you know, it's what the fuck. And then, you know, I'll read this story because it's like, how do you get away? I don't understand how people get away with writing this type of shit. But hold on, did I just fucking exit it? I think I might have accidentally deleted it. But white people, what was it called here? One sec. God damn it. Too many white kids. Too many white kids, NBC. We'll see if I can find it right away like that. No, Berlatsky. Yeah, okay. Noah. Berlatsky. White kids. I'll just do that. See if I can find it right away. God damn it. Here, one sec. See, I had that article up, but I fucking accidentally X'd out of it. God damn it. But yeah, yes, it's okay to be white. But yes, they're Jews. Of course, they're Jewish people. But Noah's Berlatsky. Let me just see if I can. Maybe it'll be like the latest article. God damn it. Where was this fucking thing here? Okay, I can find it in my Reddit. I can go here, go to saved. I believe I put it in my saved post. Sorry about the wait, guys. Just bear with me for a second here, because the article is definitely worth a fucking read. You know, judging on what the hell he was talking about. Who cares? Great, the fund, family, TSA, apparently shooting. Yeah, there was also, if you guys heard about that shooting of that little black girl in America, and it turns out it was actually a black guy, and all of these people were like, oh my God, you know, this white male with blue eyes killed this girl, yada, yada, yada. We need to protect, we need to find this guy. Sean King came out, was talking about it, was trying to get people to find this guy on Twitter and stuff. Sorry, I'm still looking for this shit here. God damn it. Where was this? White kids are too privileged. If somebody knows the name of the article, it's by NBC. Christians sank, blue-eyed. Who cares where they think? Think about many levels. Superstition. Why doesn't the president's yellow agents? Facts. Brain scans. Oh yeah, if you saw that story earlier, it's apparently white racism that is causing terrorism in America. Where is this fucking story? Where is this goddamn story that I had? Oh, stupid are people. French protest. You know, like goddamn Noah Berlatsky. Oh yeah, okay. It was an article by The Guardian, I remember. Maybe it'll show me all of his articles that have been written just recently. Burton. Noah Berlatsky, Guardian, white kids. Okay, come on. White children are... Okay, I think I may have found it here. Sorry for the wait, guys. I really apologize. Yeah, okay, white children. Okay. It's an opinion piece. How well-meaning white parenting is, you know, okay, there we go. I found it. Sorry for the wait. I apologize, everybody. Okay, so let me check out who's in the chat. Hey, Kelly, how's it going? Hey, Justin. Hey, Just Cringe Diversity. Kirk. Hey, Voltron. Hey, Mr. Nice Guy. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Looks like there's quite a bit of you here already. Okay, so I'll start reading it here, but it's a pretty fucked up article. White kids, racism, and the way privileged parenting props up an unjust system. So like I said, remember this Noah Berlatsky guy, you know, he never talks about the overrepresentation of Jewish kids probably in these private schools as well. You know, that doesn't mention that, even though they make up 1.5% of the population, or the overrepresentation in the media or the business, but he's only going to talk about the white kids. But if you, like I said, if you take these people out, then we're actually underrepresented in a lot of businesses and a lot of different things. But let's see here. White children are everywhere, but their whiteness is too often invisible and unspoken. And, you know, this is the most racist shit ever. The white children are everywhere. Imagine if it was black children. Jewish children are everywhere. Their Jewishness, their blackness, their Asianness is too often invisible and unspoken. You know, it's like the whole whiteness thing and the whole blackness thing is so stupid. It's like, what does blackness fucking mean? It means like, oh, this is my blackness. What does whiteness mean? It's like, no, these things are invented by racist liberals in order to you know, I don't know, attack white people. Oh, their whiteness. They don't even see their whiteness. They're ignorant of it. We need to teach these people from a young age. But he goes on, you know, like, but I'm just baffled. White children are everywhere. You know, it's amazing how these articles get approved and the editors read this. They're like, yeah, that's a good article. I think we should, you know, like 3-4 different editors read this. They're like, yeah, this is a good article. Let's run it. This past October, my son and his classmate lobbied their small private school to change the official holiday of Columbus Day to Natives Peoples Day. My son wrote a short letter to the faculty explaining why they shouldn't celebrate white imperialism and that Native peoples were too often ignored or erased or pushed to the side in discussions of American history. Some parents didn't like the change, but the leaders and administration were supportive and they changed the name. So it's like, you know, some parents weren't supportive. I'm sure a lot of the parents weren't supportive of you, once again, advocating to change our culture. And this is what a lot of these people do, is they advocate on behalf of other groups. And they're like, oh, we need to change this. There's probably not a single Native person in that class. And they're like, oh, we need to change this to Columbus Day or Aboriginal Day or Natives Day because it's a white imperialism, yada, yada, yada. Like, nobody was talking about this. But then, you know, other people are going to think it's a bunch of like Native people that are pushing for this, when a lot of times they're not. They don't give a shit. It's like these groups that are doing it. It's not even like per se them. It's like these groups fighting on behalf of other people that creates more tension. See, some of these people, like the Berlatsky guy, whatever, they're instigators. That's what they are. They go and they fucking instigate people. But you know, and then they're, you know, of course that's going to anger people too. Like, people got to understand, Americans think of Columbus as a part of their history. Now it's white supremacist, it's imperialism, but whatever you think, that's what they're saying about John A. Macdonald in Canada too. They're like, oh, he started residential schools and we need to get rid of his statues because he's an imperialist and all this stuff. You know, they're destroying the foundations of the history of our countries. That's what they're doing. And then, you know, I have no problem celebrating Aboriginal people and their contributions to history and stuff, but that doesn't mean we need to tear down all of our statues and monuments and all these other things, right? Thank you, Rainy Steps. Thank you very much. Here's, yeah, that's for my new hat fund, right? This one's getting old, and you know, I got my old one. It's pretty much out of commission. I'm going to need money for this hat, guys. So please, please pay up. I want to get a really, really nice Trump hat or make Canada great again with like a gold rim around and like a drool encrusted. So I'm going to need you guys to step up and give me your money right now, or just leave the stream. No, I'm kidding. But, you know, I'll read a little bit more of the story. But, you know, get rid of, we don't want to celebrate white imperialism. And it's like, okay, but so is like brown imperialism okay? Is Asian imperialism okay when they're trying to invade Taiwan right now and take it over? China just said, if anybody interferes with us trying to peacefully reunite Taiwan and China, we're going to use weapons against you. You know, it's like, but oh no, it's just white imperialism. And what do you mean by white imperialism? It wasn't, they're lumping all white people, all white Europeans together. No, it was English, and the English imperialists, or Spanish, or the Columbus, it was the Spanish people who fucking came here. And it's like, you know, it wasn't every single fucking group, but, you know, they weren't doing it on behalf of all white people. You know, they weren't trying to imperialize the country. And, you know, at the end of the day, imperialism isn't fucking nearly as bad as people make it out to be. Now, I'm not saying we should be imperialistic, and that is a good thing to do, and invade people's countries and take them over and stuff. But, you know, all the countries that were imperialized are better off, have better, fairer systems than the countries that weren't, generally. So that's just the truth of it. You know, it's a hard reality to fucking understand, but you know, they were living in teepees and shit and stuff like that before we came here. That's not to say that that's wrong and bad, and that we shouldn't maybe be more natural and stuff as people. But, you know, imperialism, they make it out, oh, it's terrible, it's terrible. You know, all white imperialism, it's just so bad. Let's ignore all the benefits that was brought because of it. You know, they're only ever going to talk about the negative aspects about it. Like, you know what, a bunch of English, they went to a lot of places, you know, they imperialized them, but, you know, there was a lot of barbaric practices going on around the world, and they actually stopped a lot of it. Like, you know, they come into a community and they're like, I don't know, doing some like disgusting, cannibalistic, ritualistic, fucking torturous shit to their own people. And they're like, stop cutting off the tips, like, you know, stop cutting like the penises right in half and fucking them. There's something of some like Australian tribe that did that, or something, like cut the dicks down the middle and like came in it or something. Like the Australian or the British came and like, okay, stop doing this shit. Like, you know, it's bad. It's not sanitary, etc. But once again, I'm not advocating imperialism or anything like that. I'm you know, small government, more libertarian. I don't believe in the, you know, imperialism is bad at the end of the day for what do you call it? Nationalism. You know, nationalism and patriotism. Imperialism is bad for it, as we see the results of it, you know, from France, from the UK. You know, all the countries they imperialize now, they're opening up their doors to. And you know, you're spending resources on other countries that you could be spending on your own. You're wasting your lives trying to take over other countries through imperialism. But you know, there's always give and take to everything. That's what I'm saying. They don't look at anything through an objective lens through history. It's just white imperialism, bad. We need to dismantle any remnant of it whatsoever. And it's like, you know, this is just this was the progression of history. You know, was just other groups going and conquering other lands. It's only recently that that's no longer you know, considered okay to do, and that's good. I think that's progression. We should keep going in that direction. You know, it shouldn't be the guy with the biggest sticks makes the fucking rules, but, you know, we still in a lot of ways still live like that. But, you know, I'll read more of the story here. As you'd imagine, my wife and I were very proud. We'd hoped to teach our son anti-racism, and here he was doing anti-racist activism in his own small way. We were glad we'd sent him to a school that encouraged kids to speak up and was open to change. At the same time, though, the school is a private school. Sending kids to private school is an option you only have if you have a certain amount of money. In paying for him to go to that school, we were at least partially abetting a system that benefits more affluent people. So this is what he's attacking here is capitalism. He's not outright saying, he doesn't outright say it in the article, but the whole system he's describing right here, people paying money to receive a better service, and it's how it's bettering affluent people. Yeah, that's just capitalism. Yeah, if you work harder and you make more money, you can buy better fucking shit. But to a socialist, to a leftist like this, that is oppression. You know, they think capitalism is oppression and shit. So that's all he's describing here. We were at least partially abetting a system that benefits more affluent people. And affluent people in the US are often, though not always, white. We sent our son, and this guy doesn't consider himself white. You know, he looks white. A lot of people will see him as white. If they see him down the street, oh, this guy looks pretty fucking Jewish, to be honest. He's got like crazy curly hair and a big nose. You'd probably think he's Jewish, but nonetheless, you know, at first glance, but he doesn't consider himself that. So it's, you know, it's kind of annoying. It's like pick one, okay? We sent our son to a school that taught and encouraged anti-racism, but teaching people to be anti-racist doesn't necessarily address the structure of racism itself. So it's like us using propaganda to control your kids and teach them all this shit. It's still not good enough. It's still not fucking good enough. In fact, racist structures often determine who does and does not have access to these kinds of educational opportunities. One of our ongoing societal challenges will be figuring out ways to move beyond individual education and address the root issues of inequalities and our role in upholding them. So, you know, to a leftist, the reason there is differences in society is because of racism, bigotry, discrimination. But if they really want to figure out the root differences of, you know, different outcomes in society, a lot of it does have to do with like general intelligence, IQ, maybe some culture as well, like the whole crabs in the bucket mentality that people have that drag each other down when they try to succeed in life. So, you know, there's many things that separate it, but a lot less of it has to do with racism. There's some nepotism you can point to, like this Jewish guy who's unwilling to point to the nepotism in the Jewish community, because there is tons of it. There is fucking tons of it. And, you know, you get called a racist. Anytime you say Jewish person, you get called a racist. Like, I don't know, they've convinced people. Anytime you question like Israel shooting 60 fucking people at their border, you're an anti-Semite, you know? Like I said, we had a charity in Canada here, a Jewish charity that's just been found for the past 40 years to be funding Israel's expansion in Palestine, which is against the Geneva Convention, which is them expanding their borders into another person's sovereign nation. Nobody gives a fucking shit. If you talk about it, you're a fucking anti-Semite. And it really fucking pisses me off. But I'll read more of it. Teaching people to be anti-racist doesn't solve the problem, yada, yada, yada. Margaret Hagerman, a sociologist, so already I don't really, you know, buy a lot of what she's saying, at the Mississippi State University, talks about these difficulties, contradictions in her book, White Kids Growing Up with Privilege in a Racially Divided America. Hagerman spent 2 years with 30 families in a Midwestern city observing affluent white parents and their children and interviewing both groups about race and racism. She babysat, took kids to activities, and listened in the car as they gossiped. Some kids claimed that black students in their schools sold drugs and were dangerous. Others talked about the ways in which black friends were unfairly singled out for punishment or even had their bathroom access restricted. So Hagerman found important differences in the way that parents talk to their kids about race and important differences in the ways that these kids responded. But she also found that white parents, even anti-racist white parents, actively reproduce inequality. So, guess what, liberals? Doesn't matter how anti-racist you think you're going to be, they're going to find some other reason to call you a fucking racist. Doesn't matter. There's a ton of these articles written about how white liberals further discrimination and anti-racist or racism, etc. So it doesn't matter what you people fucking do, they're always going to be shaming you, saying that, oh, you're not, doesn't matter, even if you're anti-racist, anti-white racist, and you tell your kids to treat everybody the same and not to consider race, oh, well, that's racist now. If you're colorblind, you're a racist. If you try to avoid and not to take people's race in consideration, they're like, oh no, that's actually racist because everybody sees race and you can't deny that you see race and you're just trying to ignore it and blah blah blah. You're a racist. Give us more money. The end of this article, that's pretty much all it is. It's just give us more money. Give more money to democratic causes. And you'll see this is what he says, like in the article. It may seem like there's already more than enough writing about white children. After all, the vast majority of children literature is about white kids. Well, why do you think that is? Why is most of the literature about white kids? Because white people are the only one bothering to do fucking research about their kids. That's why, because you live in a country with a majority white population. And guess what? Their kids are going to be white because the majority of the people in Canada and America and all these European countries that decided to do testing on their kids tended to be white up until fucking recently. So that's why there's more studies on white kids, because they live in countries where their parents decide to do studies on it. It's not going on in go to Saudi Arabia, go to the Middle East and ask them why they're not studying their fucking kids. Go to Africa, go to China, go to these countries and ask them why they're not releasing studies on their kids. What do you want us to fucking steal a bunch of kids from China to do tests on them and get a bunch of Libyan African slaves or something to do tests on them? Like what do you want? Like, what do you want? And the way he wrote about it, he's like, after all, the vast majority of children's literature is about white kids, fuckers, fucking white kids. But Hagerman told me by phone, while there is a lot of writing about fucking white kids, there is not a lot from a critical race perspective. What does that mean? A critical race perspective, that telling white people they're privileged. I think that's what it means. Much of the developmental psychology literature uses white kids as the sample, but doesn't interrogate what whiteness means, because it doesn't mean anything. It's a made-up fucking term that you crazy leftists invented for something to constantly attack, to be like, well, we need to dismantle this white structure and this whiteness that's going on. And oh man, you're so white. What does whiteness mean? What does this mean? What does blackness mean? Isn't it funny how there's only blackness and whiteness? Why is there not like yellowness or brownness? Why is there only these two terms? Because they're made up by fucking sociologists. To whiteness just means capitalism and like free markets and a small government. Because all these people want is socialism, is an authoritarian state. And you read it, like I said before, when they were talking about this guy's aiding and abetting the system that keeps this discrimination going, because a lot of white kids have money and they can spend and send their kids to good schools. This is upholding the racist system or something. No, that's capitalism, you fucking idiot. If you make more money, you can do more things. What is fucking complicated about that? Like, that's not discrimination at the at all. It's just, I don't know why is the public education system so fucking bad? Why don't you ask fucking that question? Why are your kids retarded when they get out of school? Why are they not able to do anything when they get out of education? Like, other people barely know how to fucking read and write when they get out of high school. Well, ask these questions instead of this other bullshit. Thank you, Slavey McSlaverson. Call us people without color, or you're a bigot. That's true, you know? Yeah, call us people without color, you know? And, you know, about like Asian people, they're pretty fucking white too. So it's like, you know, whiteness, some Asian people are whiter than white people. You're like, what does this mean? You know, it's some bullshit term, like I said, to attack capitalism. And it's a way for them to say they're not attacking white people, because they're like, no, 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 no. I'm not attacking white people. I'm attacking whiteness, the structure of whiteness, and blah, blah, blah. But somehow everything white people do is fucking supporting whiteness. Oh, there's an article come out. White people love to camp, and there's a disproportionate amount of white people going to camp because white people fucking, this is whiteness. Oh, there's so many people on, all the people riding bicycles are white men. They're supporting this whiteness. You're like, what the fuck are you talking about? This just gibberish nonsense. And like I said, it's just a cover to attack white people, for them to say that they're not attacking white people. You know, that's pretty much it. And capitalism, and try to replace it with socialism. But this is white children. Okay, well, 1 second here. Writing about white kids there is not a lot of critical race perspective. Much of the developmental psychology literature uses white kids as the sample, because they're in white countries, you fucker. Because you're in white majority countries. What more do you want to fucking know, you retard? But doesn't interrogate what whiteness means or how it situates them in society. White children are everywhere, but their whiteness is effectively invisible and unspoken. Yeah, white kids are everywhere because you're in a white country, man. Like, and you see the way they write about this shit. It's like they're angry about it. They're like, oh, fucking this white people. No, it's just I can't feel comfortable in this hugely white society, right? And what does that tell you about yourself and about multiculturalism and of how white people are going to feel? And a lot of immigrants come here and they say how they don't feel at home because there's so many goddamn white people. Well, then go back home. And do you think white people are going to feel at home anymore when they look around and all these people are from Pakistan, China, this and this country? No, but you don't give a fucking shit. You know, it's like, you guys are capitalists and you stole all your wealth, and white people are bad, imperialism bad, white people take their shit because vengeance, revenge, they deserve it. You know, that's why we see all this anti-white propaganda constantly, because it's priming people to be okay with doing bad things in the future and feeling okay with about it. That's why I don't want to become a minority in my own country. You know, that's one of the main fucking reasons why I was like, okay, this is a big fucking deal that we need to talk about, because you just see the rhetoric that is coming out and you're like, no, this is not good. This is not good at all. And it's not going to be good results for us in the future. But some parents Hagerman found prefer to keep race unspoken. Families she interviewed in a wealthy conservative suburb, for example, tended to avoid the topic of race with their children. They adhere to a colorblind way of thinking, Hagerman told me. They would say that race doesn't matter, or that they were beyond race. One girl told Hagerman that in her school they weren't even allowed to say the word racist. It was on the list of forbidden words that also included homophobic, sexist, and racist slurs. So, you know, I don't know. Now it's bad for white people not to talk about racism or whatever. And it's like, what they really want is you to talk to your kids about, you know, how bad white people are and how oppressive and privileged they are. Whenever they say, well, you know, they don't talk about their kids about racism anymore and stuff. Or they don't talk about their kids about race. What they really want you to do is to tell your kids that, you know, they're bad, their history is bad, imperialism is bad, yada yada yada. They don't want an actual discussion about it. you know, a back and forth discussion. They just want people to fucking listen to them and to think that, like, you know, all white people are bad, essentially. But kids from these families were so worried about being labeled racist that they were reluctant to identify people as black or white. Yet, obviously, the children can see racial differences. Well, yeah, of course, they're not retarded. And when pressed, they would sometimes say things that were racist. Hagerman reports white children telling her that black children got in trouble in school because of the way they were raised. Is that racist to say that? I don't know. If you see that there's black kids acting up more in your class and getting in trouble more, you know, that's a better thing to say than them saying it's a genetic deficiency. They're saying, oh, their parents raised them badly, which you would say about any kid that is overreacting, attacking the teachers, which there is a lot. You know, look online. You can find 100 videos or like tons of videos of black kids attacking their teachers, punching their teachers, fighting and shit other kids in school. And like, you know what, I went to a fairly what do you call it, all white school. You know, there were a lot of white people and shit, and you know what, there was barely any fights, there was barely any violence. Most people got along just fine. You know, some people do drugs and smoke weed and do some shit like that, but generally there was like very few altercations and fights because it was like a French school type thing, right? And you know, there's less diversity in these schools. But if you when I heard about what was going on in the English schools, which was way more diverse, you would hear about like the police going to that school because somebody's like head got smashed in a fucking you know, water fountain. There's blood everywhere. You know, there's big huge fights between like 20 kids and 20 kids. And like, you know, like there's just tons more violence and all this shit in these diverse schools, whereas it was like mostly white. In my school, there was none of it. It was completely fucking fine. So, you know, then these white kids saying that maybe their parents raised them wrong, you know, it's not racist to say that, but they're going to label that as fucking racist anyways, which is bullshit. It's just they're saying what they see. And if they see that, they're kids, you know, they're honest about it. And when pressed, they would sometimes say things that were racist, you know, the way that they're raised. One 12-year-old white child told Hagerman that police treat white people worse than black people, an argument contradicted by a mountain of evidence, right? It's like, oh no, even though actually, you know, I guess you could say disproportionately they treat black people worse. But if you look at the first large numbers, white people are the ones are in jail more. White people are the ones shot by police more. Even unarmed white people were shot more by police in a certain year in just full numbers. And then, you know, you're like, oh, well, see, per capita, now it matters. Well, you know, and they're also committing a lot less crime per capita as well. So they're not going to be interacting with the police as much either. But, you know, people who identified, but if you were to take into consideration that, you know, a lot of these black people being shot by police or unarmed black people being shot by police, we're also doing crimes and doing all this other shit in the meantime. And you just factor in just the innocent people that are being shot and stuff, then it would be a different story. But what they're doing is they're just lumping in all these stories with people that are justifiably shot, even though they're unarmed, because you can still be dangerous if you're unarmed, right? It's not, you can run at somebody, reach for somebody's gun, and, you know, the media will report unarmed black man shot by white police officer. But it's like, that doesn't mean they weren't doing something and whatnot. But people who identify as more politically liberal were much more willing to acknowledge the existence of racism. And this is another straw man, because nobody is saying racism does not exist. But this is a straw man liberals use. Oh, you're saying racism doesn't exist? Like, no, everybody's saying we say it exists, but not at the same scale that you're saying it exists. Not that it controls every goddamn structure of society. Yes, people have in-group preferences, and there's going to be some discrimination likely to a minority group in any country you go in, because they are they look different. People just, that's just the way people are. They're more in-group preference. There's going to be some people that are going to be more worried about a minority in their group in a country, and if something happens, you're probably going to be one of the first ones to blame because you weren't here before, right? And that's not always right and stuff, but that's what is going to happen. There's going to be some group privilege, I suppose you could say, you know, but a lot of people chose to come to live in America, a lot, like probably like this guy especially, and a lot of the other immigrants that came to live in America. There's going to be some biases within groups, but, you know, America, you know, with the amount of opportunity that people have, and they complain about like stupid bullshit like this, it makes no sense. Like, Obama was the goddamn president, for Christ's sakes. He was a black man. You know, like, liberals don't like that argument, but he fucking was. Or that doesn't mean racism doesn't exist. Nobody's saying it doesn't exist. Like, when I think it was the Republicans a while ago, they want to remove some bill that was going to, I don't remember what it was, but the liberals kept saying that it was, they think racism is gone in America. They're because they want to get rid of this bill that stops discrimination or something. What they're saying is racism is done in America. It's like, no, it's not done. There's always going to be racism, but the only racism that these people care about is white racism. That's it. There's tons of racism coming from other groups of people to white people or to each other, or like some black people saying racist shit about Asians, or Asians saying racist shit about black people. There's tons of that racism going on too, but nobody addresses it. Nobody looks at it. They only ever address white racism, white people being racist and stuff like that. That's literally it. And that's all they care about. And because they believe you can't be racist if you're a minority. It's power plus prejudice, right? If you have no power in society, then you can't be racist. You can only be prejudiced. It just, once again, another thing that justifies their racism, and them saying, you know, the most disgusting shit about fucking white people and feeling okay with it, right? And feeling totally fine. These university professors are all teaching kids this bullshit. You know, they read these articles and they're like, oh yeah, well, they're just attacking whiteness and this and that. It's like, no, they're attacking white people. Essentially, you know, diversity just means less white people. That's all it means. Like, if you really, what it comes down to, that's it. You know, you'll see a picture of all black people on something, or all Asians, and they'll be, look at this diverse cast. Look at how diverse this cast is. Like, diversity just means less white people. That's it. People who identify as more politically liberal, much more willing to acknowledge racism, the existence of racism. That pisses me off. And to talk to their children about it, many of these parents identified as specifically anti-racist and were determined to teach their kids to work against bigotry and inequality. Parents encourage their kids to do charitable work, for example, both in their own communities and on, you know, they put in, not quotes, but parentheses, expensive overseas trips. So you see how he highlights expensive overseas trips? Kind of like, you know, another jab at their privilege. Oh, these fucking privileged white people, they're going to help people in their own communities, and they're going to Africa and building libraries. All these fucking privileged white people. See, they don't like it when you go to Africa and build a fucking library and shit. They're like, oh, these bastards. Like, we did that in my school too. We had this whole thing from grade 9 to grade 12. We all got and raised money for 4 fucking years. You know, everybody who participated in it, we'd raise money for plane tickets and then money to build a library in Africa. And doing that is probably a microaggression towards fucking black people. You know, and like, yeah, that's what they did. I didn't go because I was like, fuck this, man. I'm not going to Africa do all this shit. I didn't do anything because they wanted us to go after school and do all this shit. And I was like, fuck this. I'm just going to go smoke weed with my friends after school. I'm not going to go and do all this volunteer shit to go build a fucking library in Africa. But a lot of kids did. They all went to Africa for like 2 weeks, built a fucking library or had one built. I don't know. They just hung out there, but all the money that we raised went there. But that's like, oh, that's bad or something now. It's like, you know, they should have never done that. They should have just raised that money for kids in goddamn Canada. But, you know, stupid, cucky, liberal Canada, we're going to throw all of our money away to other countries while we have homeless people sleeping on the goddamn streets and shit. You know, it's like, it's stupid. It's like, whatever, you know, we're raising all this money privately through charity to give to other countries, but then we want everybody. Then when it comes to people in our own country, they're like, oh, we'll just get less socialism, let welfare take care of these people, you know. And it's like, I was a poor kid growing up in that school, and all the other kids in my school were rich and had a lot of money and stuff. And it's like, you know, I would have rather been helped more from you know, donations or private people and stuff, as opposed to, you know, getting on welfare, having my mom get on welfare or anything like that. Like, you know, see, we have the money to do it. We can do it for these other people. We just can't do it for ourselves, apparently, because, see, this is what governments do. This is what the welfare program does. It makes people think that all of these Canadians are going to be taken care of because we have these systems that let a lot of people fall through the fucking cracks, especially. And then we just, oh, okay, whatever. We'll just help all these other people and worry about them. But, you know, the welfare does not help people in the end. Oh, God damn it. I keep fucking doing that. Okay, one sec. All right, there, I found the article again. No, it's Berlatsky, you fucking asshole. Go back to goddamn, you know, this guy, all he writes is propaganda. You know, that's all he fucking writes. All anti, you know, white capitalism, propaganda. But where was I in this thing here? Okay. Oh yeah, white children are everywhere, yada yada, and some were beyond race. One girl told Hagerman that in her school they weren't even allowed to say racist. Okay, kids from these families were so worried about being labeled racist that they were reluctant to identify people as black or white. So that's another thing too. Like, this is a thing, you know, people, they throw around the term racist and shit like it's absolutely nothing. But you see the fear of what a lot of people are afraid of being called that, because it can ruin your goddamn life. And I've seen so many people, they laugh. They're like, oh, these white people are more afraid of being called racist than actually being racist. And it's like, no, it's because we see you leftist mobs do to people who you consider fucking racist and whatnot. Like, you try to destroy them, drag them through the fucking mud, everything you possibly can to make their lives hell. And then it's like, yeah, of course, white people are going to be like, I'm not racist. I'm not racist. I'm not racist, because they don't want to be attacked. They've been fed all this propaganda. You know, these kids, you know, look at they're afraid. They don't even want to distinguish between white and black because they're afraid of being called racist, because it's true. You know, the media, everybody can say whatever they want about white people. You know, like I said, that girl, that 7-year-old black girl was killed in America. They thought it was a white guy with blue eyes doing it. Sean King's like, oh, let's get everybody to find out. I will pay $25,000 to anybody who finds the identity of this white man. Whereas little girls, little kids get shot all the time in the fucking ghetto in drive-by shootings, and there's nothing about it. There's silence. But all of a sudden, when they think it's a white man who did it, everybody's on the fucking case. They're all going for it. But then they come and it comes out it's a black man that did it. 2 black guys are the one who shot that girl. But Now nobody's talking about it. Now it's somehow somebody's going to write an article. It's still white people's fault. Still white people's fault. Blah, blah, blah. Now they're going to use this to promote their racist, white supremacist agenda, that all hate crimes are lies and there are no hate crimes and racism doesn't exist, which is a straw man. We never said racism doesn't exist. Nobody said hate crimes or crimes. I don't believe in hate crimes, but crimes against people because of their race and gender, etc., don't happen. It's never happened, but you know, it's the straw man they fucking use. So they're so worried about that. Yet obviously the children could see racial differences, and when pressed, they would sometimes say things that were racist, you know, and yada 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 about the, you know. And then one 12-year-old student said that police treat white people worse, you know, and they disputed that. People identify as more politically liberal were much more willing to acknowledge the existence of racism and talk to their children about it. Many of these parents identified as specifically anti-racist and were determined to teach their kids to work against bigotry and inequality. Parents encouraged their kids to do charity, yada, yada, yada. And then yet, as Hagerman told me, all of these families in their own ways were participating in the reproduction of racial inequality. So, like, white people, why do you still vote for the fucking left? Whatever you do, it's not going to be good enough. You can build as many hospitals and churches as you want. You can teach your kids about how fucking privileged and all this stuff. The only way these people are going to be happy is if you pull your kids out of school and pay for their kids to go in school, as opposed to your kids. They want you to give all your money to them, and then you go live in some shack or whatever, and then maybe they'll be like, oh, well, finally you guys are dealing with this racial inequality, etc. But other than that, you know, like, until you dismantle capitalism and have socialism for everybody and everybody the exact same, everybody that gets the exact same access to education. And that's another thing. It's, you know, you want there to be competition in school, and you don't want everybody to have to follow the same curriculum, because you're not learning what the fuck is the best thing to teach people, or the thing that's going to make your kids the smartest, right? Because liberals, these socialists, they want to make everything the same. They're like, oh, I want everybody to have the same quality education. Well, how do you know the education that is being provided in a lot of these other schools are necessarily have quality? Or in public schools, they have no quality. But if there was competition in that, then we could actually get quality schools for our children, and they would be cheaper. You know, you could actually, you know, people who don't make as much money, or parents who don't make as much money, could still have a pretty good education for their kids. Because what I was going to say is that we don't know what is best to teach them anyway. So that's why you want to kind of remove the forced curriculum and force, oh, you have to teach them this subject. You have to teach them false history. You have to teach them this. You have to teach them that. No. Let private schools teach them whatever the fuck they want. And if those kids grow up like really fucked and they don't know anything, well, you know, that's just a part of it. And then over time, we will figure out what works best, and then everybody will start to adopt that, you know, or, you know, homeschool your kids, etc. Right? Don't put your kids in public or even private schools nowadays. Like, private schools are just as bad, and they're not really private. To some extent they are, but like, they have to follow a lot of the guidelines that the state, that the whatever says. So that kind of destroys the whole point of a free market, of competition, of, you know, figuring out what's best. But the spectacle of well-intentioned people working half unconsciously to solidify and perpetuate their own power is not an encouraging one. I feel like my findings are pretty dismal, Hagerman admits. When you have people who have a lot of wealth alongside their racial privilege, they're ultimately making decisions that benefit their own kids. And I don't know how you really interrupt that. So it's a problem that people are making decisions to benefit their own kids. And how do you interrupt that? Yeah, how do you interrupt people giving money to their own kids and trying to benefit the lives of their own children? You're never going to disrupt that, ever. Like that, I don't know. You're going to have to do a lot of fucking propaganda to try to get people to want to give more of their money away to other kids as opposed to their kids. You know, all these people, they love diversity, love all this shit until it affects them. Okay. Look at George Clooney when he thought that his kids were going to be integrated. His school's kids were going to be integrated with some other schools' kids, you know, public school or whatever. They fought that shit. Look at these people that are always talking about diversity and opening the borders, like George Clooney, all these are leftists, and they have walls around their fucking homes because they don't believe in this shit. And a lot of people, you know, will change their minds about this stuff once it starts to affect them personally, once it starts to impact them personally, you know, just like the whole carbon tax and all this shit that they're trying to implement. Once people start feeling it personally, they're going to revolt. They're going to revolt. They're not going to stand and take this shit because at the moment they're what do you call it? Their liberal stupidity and you know, complete open-mindedness is not affecting them. It's not hurting them. But once it starts to hurt them, they'll change their tune. And this is the whole thing about socialism too. It's like, look at the equalization between provinces. It allows bad provinces that are making poor decisions to continue making poor decisions because it's being subsidized by Alberta. So instead of Quebec and instead of BC and instead of these other places being forced to develop their own industries to make money, they don't have to do it because they're getting a welfare check from Alberta and from other provinces. So they can just keep doing whatever they're doing, not actually doing anything. But if you cut these payments off, then they would feel the effects of their stupid policies. But they're only getting a shield from it because of the wealth of other provinces that are funding their stupidity, or the people within their province that are, you know, fairly capitalistic, producing wealth and whatnot. But they're just siphoning off other people's wealth to live like idiots and to have their stupid ideology. But once again, once it affects them, you know, they will change their tune. But hopefully it doesn't affect them too late, and by then we can't do anything about it. And that is the problem. They want to keep us in this lulled state of, you know, not paying attention to anything. So then it just goes on below the radar, and we get slowly and slowly replaced over time, and until you wake up and you're like, you don't recognize the country you fucking grew up in. And Hagerman's findings do offer at least one glimmer of hope. White children, she found, don't automatically reproduce the racial ideology of their parents. So, oh, we got hope. We can mold their little brains to not be racist, because we know racism is inherent in white people, and they're all racist, and white people can't help it. It's because we have no souls. That's what I hear a lot of people say. A lot of people think that white people have no souls. I'm not even kidding you. I see that all the time from these, like, you know, Black Lives Matter type people or whatever. Like, white people have no souls. And they're like, this is what people think. They think that we need to be taught not to be racist, and everybody else, they're just little lambs, little innocent lambs that are just at the poor mercy of the evil fucking white people, killing them and doing horrible things and all this crap. But it's like, oh my God, you know, this is so stupid. And then on the other hand, children of anti-racist parents, or wait, one white boy she interviewed, for example, disliked his private school in part because he felt the children were too privileged and too racially isolated. So, you know, I don't know what this kid's parents are teaching him or what he's watching. He's probably watching like leftist YouTube videos. On the other hand, children of anti-racist parents would sometimes use racist stereotypes to make racist comments. Kids aren't copies of their parents, which means as a society, they can become better or worse. I don't want to paint this as we're all going to be okay because of the kids, Hagerman told me, but the possibility for change is at least potentially positive. And as for white adults, Hagerman says, if they really want a less racist world, they may need to rethink how they approach parenting. Everyone is trying to do the best for their kid, she says. So it's like, once again, just focusing on white people and white parents. There's no racism in any other community. There's no racism in the black or the Asian. You know how fucking racist Asian people are? They're so fucking racist, okay? They're probably some of the most racist people on the fucking planet. So I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about. The least racist people are white people. That's the truth. The most tolerant people are white people, okay? Look in China right now. They are Christians. They are fucking subjugating. Christians are not allowed to practice their own religion, or like in a lot of Chinese people practice Christianity. They're not allowed to practice it. And, you know, same with Islam. I just saw an article today where China wants to make Islam compatible with socialism in China. So they're working together with these Muslims to make China and Islam compatible or something. So I guess they could practice it. I don't know what the fuck they're doing, but only people seem to care about is the Muslims occasionally in China. Occasionally I see an article about it, but nobody gives a shit about the Christians and stuff. But like, you know, you look at these countries, they don't give anybody rights. They don't give other minority groups rights and privileges. You look at Saudi Arabia. Christians and Jews are second-class citizens, okay? And everybody else is even lower than that. They still behead fucking atheists. They still fucking kill gays and shit in a lot of these countries. There is no country you can point to other than Western countries that pretty much give you a lot of these freedoms. Maybe, I don't know, Singapore or South Korea or something like that. Some of these Asian countries and shit, and whatnot, Chile. But it's have you heard about the descendants of high-ranking Nazis? No, I have not, but you know, I know there are probably a ton of them. Maybe they're in politics, I'm sure, but you know, it's just ridiculous. As for white adults, she says, but I actually think that there are times when maybe the best interest of your own kid isn't actually the best choice. So this is some fucked up shit. She says, but I actually think that there are times when maybe the best interest of your own kid isn't actually the best choice. Is this like bull? Is this reality? No, well, you know what? You need to make a choice in the benefit of the group instead of your child, because you're favoring your white kid above all these other fucking kids. Of course, you favor your kid above other kids too. Everybody fucking does this, but the only people they want to do this to is white people. The only people. This, once again, all leads to socialism. It has to do with money. Oh, you know, you're giving too many privilege to your kids. We need to tax you more so then we can spread it around. We got to spread it around, you know? You're too nice to your kids. You know, the best thing for society isn't always the best thing for your child or whatever, right? And it's like, fuck you. They don't understand. These people, this is why socialism will never work, right? Will never, ever work, because nobody will ever fucking give up their kids for the state, okay? Very few people are going to do that. Maybe some delusional, crazy motherfuckers, but nobody is ever going to, you know, say fuck you to their kids for the benefit of the larger group. No, fuck that shit. You be the one. You be the one that sacrifices your kids for the benefit of the larger group. It's like somebody's coming, be like, hey guys, you know, we're starving and we need to fucking kill somebody's kid to eat, and make sure it's your kids. You know, kill your kids because we're all fucking hungry. No. You have your kid be the fucking sacrificial goddamn lamb, for Christ's sakes. You know, this is insanity that these things can be written. And I'm not saying we need to ban it and make laws against these things be written, but how it doesn't create any controversy, and people, like, you know, it's crazy to me. But, you know, so, but I actually think that there are times when maybe the best interest of your own kid isn't actually the best choice. Ultimately, being a good citizen, so being a good comrade to the state, to Stalin, sometimes conflicts with being a good parent, right? That's all it is. Your allegiance is to the state, to the fucking whatever thing they want you to pledge allegiance to over your children, over your fucking children. Like, you know, white people, it's not you. Stop taking care of your kids. Like, this is racist. You're upholding white supremacy. Like, what? Ultimately, being a good citizen sometimes conflicts with being a good parent, with being good parents. So, you know, you stop being good parents. You know, you gotta treat your kids worse. And sometimes maybe parents should decide to be good citizens over being good parents. Like, this is crazy. This is crazy. Orwellian fucking speak. Like, what is going on? Who is listening? Who is reading this? And like, yeah. Like, I feel so sorry for those people's kids, for anybody who is reading this and eating this crap up and is going to treat their kids this way. Like, what the fuck are you doing? No wonder there's like increased rates of fucking suicide and shit. But that could mean, okay, and see, they get to it. They get to what they really want near the end right here. Okay, so ultimately, being a good citizen sometimes conflicts with being a good parent. And sometimes maybe parents should decide to be good citizens over being good parents. That could mean voting to raise taxes, so to better fund public schools. See, you know, just the kernel of fucking the statist bullshit. That could mean voting to raise taxes, so to better fund public schools. Maybe in our case, it should have meant choosing a public school rather than a private one. So, you know, I love this because after the fact, this guy, he sends his kids to a private school, gets the benefit of it. His kids all get benefit from it. And his kids are probably still in private school. And then he's like, well, maybe I should have sent my kids. See, he's going to prevent any type of diversity being enacted on his kid and is going to give them all the privileges that he says that your kids are taking advantage of. Like, it's crazy. It's like, well, maybe I should have put them in public school, but I'm going to write about all this shit. And I want to pay more taxes for public school, yada, yada, yada. You know, I'm like, this is insane. Like, public schools are terrible. Okay, first of all, they're fucking terrible. But this guy wants to steal more of your money so then he can indoctrinate children about being shamed about their race and about being white and about being an imperialist, colonizers. You're colonizers. They learn all that in public school. Of course, as a parent, you want to be the best possible future for your child. But the best possible future should include a society that isn't organized around racism. So private schools is organized around racism? No, it's organized around money. Okay, so, you know, at the most, this dumb socialist could be like, oh, it's a classist system, yada, yada, yada. And I think he has talked about it. But Hagerman's book is careful, painful, and convincing argument that when white people give their children advantages, they are often disadvantaging others. Racism is so hard to overturn, in part because white people prop it up when they work to make sure their children succeed. What? Like, what? Like, oh my God. Painful and convincing argument that white people give their children advantages. They're often disadvantaging others. Oh my God, man. You know, this propaganda is just fucking everywhere. But let me read a comment here. Do you guys have alt-right groups in Canada? Seems to me the state of things there would support greater movement in that direction than in the US. You know, I don't know. Maybe, but I'm not really alt-right either, right? So I don't, you know, they have certain beliefs that I don't have. Obviously, I don't want to become a minority in my own country and shit, like any rational person should want. But I'm not a National Socialist, and a lot of them are moving towards that National Socialist bullshit. And yeah, I don't like that. If I don't even care. They talk about, Jewish people or whatever. It's the National Socialism thing that I have a big problem with, and the fact that they're becoming more and more authoritarian, and they think that the only answer to thing is violence and force and just taking over. So it's like, I don't, I think that they're kind of too black pilled right now, but I still see there's hope for Canada, and I don't know about turning people over to the alt-right. High-ranking Nazi descendants have communities in Chile. Apparently, there's no crime there, right? Well, it might be true. That's probably true. It's always the responsibility of parents to educate your children in public school. Anne Marie was Canadian, lived in Nova Scotia. Anne Marie. So you're a civ nationalist? No, I'm not a civic nationalist either. I'm more of an anarcho-capitalist, to be honest. I know that triggers, oh, you're a libertarian. You like libertarianism. Well, whatever. Yeah, I believe in freedom. I believe in either virtually no government or a very small government, because I think that is what will make the numbers of white people go back up. And, we got to reinstitute the ability for people to discriminate. Let people discriminate. Okay. And, immigration is a government program. Okay. We are having our money stolen to pay for this. Immigration costs Canadians something like $26 billion a year. So it's not, this is not capitalism. It's not freedom. This is not, the National Socialists love to attack capitalism. Oh, it's capitalism. They sound exactly like fucking socialists. I'm not saying it's a horseshoe theory or whatever, but I'm fine with nationalism, but I don't like National Socialism, right? It's fucked up. It's stupid, and I know I got people, it's because it's getting more and more popular, but any type of socialism is bad, in my opinion. Any type of socialism is bad. I'm not a civic nationalist because a lot of civic nationalists believe in a lot of different regulations. They believe that we're going to make some law that is going to fix these companies trying to fucking censor us, right? That's not going to fucking happen. Like, that's not going to ever happen. We're never going to get the government to make regulations that benefit us on our behalf. It's not going to fucking happen. Don't think it will. If anything, it's going to fuck us over more, because who knows what these regulations they're going to make to protect us will actually entail. So it's like the best solution for things is often just competition, in my opinion. And Gab and all these other people are being attacked by MasterCard now and all these other companies. But the best thing for invention is necessity. That is the birth of invention. And through all of this constant trying to censor the right, and we are going to come up with something. And it seems like it's like, the Bitcoin type thing is going to be some type of solution in the future. Some type of decentralized money is going to be the solution, I believe, in the future, because the way it is now, they just keep censoring us. They just keep getting around it. We have nothing we can really do to stop it. And the only way to really stop it is to create something they cannot attack. They can't destroy. They can't get MasterCard to eliminate or whatever, or Patreon, etc. That is, I think, is the only real solution. I don't see any type of legislation coming around to protect people and shit. I don't see that happening. That doesn't seem like it's ever going to happen. If it's not going to happen under Trump, it's not even being talked about under Trump, then it's never going to be talked about. And all you're going to be doing by saying that you want these regulations is you're going to be admitting to the left that they're right and you need government. And they're going to use this against you. They already do. I already see it being used against people. Well, I thought conservatives liked people to do whatever they wanted to do, and now they want the government to help them and to make laws to not discriminate. Oh, ho, ho, ho. I guess they really do like the government. You know, and obviously it's not that simple. Like there is, you know, like whoa, there's all these other factors involved that make it, you know, bullshit. And people have legitimate reasons to want and to think that that is the only solution to the problem, right? Like that's fine to think that and to want that as a solution, but I don't think it will ever happen. And, you know, caving into their ideology is not a good idea, because that would just lead to more and more regulation. Because once you admit, okay, well, this is good, this works, that's what creates the destruction of your nation eventually. I think that's what creates the move towards leftism and the constant move. It's giving up a little bit and a little bit more and a little bit more at the time. And this is what our leaders in Canada, in America, have been doing continuously. You know, they're not becoming more capitalistic; they're becoming less capitalistic. They're taking more and more rights away from people. They're adding more taxes on people. You know, they restrict the economy even more. They have more regulations than they were before. The law books are like this fucking thick. You know, whatever, this thick, as opposed to them being smaller before. So, you know, statism has only grown. It hasn't gotten smaller. But that people see this as capitalism. They're like, oh, late stage capitalism is causing all these problems. It's like, no, it's not late stage capitalism. But no, I'm not a civic nationalist or an alt-right person. I'm for freedom. I'm more of a minarchist, anarcho-capitalist, I guess you could say. But I'm always open to new things. I'm always open to hear different perspectives. But, you know, in my opinion, that is what the final solution to a lot of things are. And there's never going to be a final solution. I don't believe in any type of utopia and people are going to be all, there's no violence and death after this and that. But, you know, what systems are better than this system? And what would you prefer? Do you prefer to live with more freedom or less freedom? You know, I want to live with the consequences of freedom as opposed to living with the consequences of less freedom. You know, like there's consequences to both of them. But, you know, I think the consequences to having the ability for everybody to carry a gun and to protect themselves is better than the consequences of us taking away everybody's gun, because now it's only criminals that have fucking guns that are going around killing people, that are doing terrorist attacks that nobody can prevent to stop because nobody has a weapon except for the police that take 5, 10, maybe 20 minutes to get there. Whereas if we had more rights, more freedoms, everybody could carry a gun. There'd probably be less crime. You'd be less burglary, because they see an old lady that they could overpower in a place with no guns. They're like, oh man, I got this girl. I'm going to kick her ass. But if everybody has weapons and stuff, and, you know, she doesn't even necessarily need to carry a gun to be more safe, because people will assume, fuck, a lot of people here are packing. I don't even want to go and attack this old lady because she might fucking pull a gun on me, right? So it helps everybody in the end. And people think, oh, it's gonna be the Wild West. Everybody's gonna be shooting each other and this and that. But you know what is right? What is right? Should people have the right to defend themselves? You know, oh, you have a right to abortion. You have a right to health care. You have the right to housing. But to defend yourself, no, you don't have that right. You know, and one of the only rights that the only person you need to provide it is yourself, right? That's the only thing that you need, you need to provide the right of protection, you know, is yourself. Whereas the right to housing, you need other people to build it. The right to healthcare, you need other people to administer it. All these other rights that you people fucking want, requires other human beings to work and to produce these fucking things for you. That's why it was, you have the right to pursue, happiness or something, the right to defend yourself, and the right of freedom of speech, like being able to speak and say things, without retribution, per se, unless you're advocating, violence and shit, because, that's not, and advocating violence isn't a moderation on freedom of speech. It's because advocating violence is trying to get somebody to do a real action that is going to hurt somebody and kill them and violate their fucking rights, right? If your speech is going to violate somebody else's actual rights, like of being alive, which we all have a right of that, of protecting ourselves, of being alive, right? It's like, if your speech is saying, oh, kill these people, then that is going to affect their freedom. So I have the freedom to now fucking preemptively react and attack you and fucking, like, I don't know, detain you because, you started it. You started the fucking, oh, I'm going to attack you. So it's, you could say these things, but there's going to be repercussions. There's going to be repercussions, as there should be. Nobody should take threats lightly. I'm not going to take it. And it's not even a threat. It's calling for a fucking action to go be done, right? But, that's the article itself. So let's check out the chat here, see what everybody's up to. Do you guys have, okay, no. If anybody's got any questions, just put AJ elicits in the chat, and, I'll answer your questions. Yeah, we all must compete to survive. You're right, Luke. Check out Drivex. What about Drivex? What is he saying? That way they can't get into your wallet. Venhikala is doing that right now. A family is a fan. Oh, wait. He wants zero rates and fire Powell, the Fed chairman. Oh, yeah. Speaking of the Federal Reserve, it's crazy. In Canada right now, they're considering lowering the Federal Reserve in Canada is considering lowering the tax rate, or the rate, to 1.5%, because right now they have 1.7%, but because Canada's economy is doing so bad right now, they're like, oh, we're gonna maybe lower it back to 1.5, which is hilarious. And if you look what's going on to Trump, they just keep raising the interest rate, and they're like, and he's like, what the fuck? And like, the Federal Reserve needs to pay off the debt, but it's really interesting to see how the Federal Reserve treats, certain political parties. When it's Obama, he had a 0% interest rate for the Federal Reserve the entire fucking time, all of his presidency, pretty much, until I think the very end. And with Trump, every 2 months they're raising it, and it's like, yeah, okay. And then in Canada, they're raising it a little bit to make it seem like they keep raising it, but now they're going to go bring it back down to 2.5% or 0.25%, because they're afraid of the projections in the economy, in Canada's economy in the future. So it's like, fuck the feds. We gotta get rid of the Federal Reserve anyways. But do Canadians have free speech anymore? Anti-Islamophobia laws and compelled speech, pronouns, etc. Do you have the UN's hate speech laws in place yet? No, I don't think we have the UN laws hate speech in place. And, Canada's free speech is better than a lot of other countries' free speech. It's way better than what they have in the UK and what they have in a lot of European countries and stuff. So, it's not perfect. And there's not really, you're not going to get, I've said lots of things that can be contrived or seen as Islamophobic, but nobody's really getting put in jail for that here yet. But give it time and it will be that way. But right now we got to use our freedom of speech while we can, and we got to constantly push against it to test our rights, to test what we can say, what is okay to say. We got to say these things to see what we're able to say and whatnot. But which tax is this? Tax rate or of what? Oh, for the Federal Reserve. You know, the the tax rate for the Federal Reserve, not the tax rate, but I can't remember the word, but sets the value of our dollar. Gold is workers' money. No new gold can be created without paying labor. And yeah, Trudeau sold all of our gold away. A lot of countries sold their gold stocks and shit, or gold reserves. And, well, that's going to be worth something if our money collapses. Gold is going to still be worth something when our fiat currency goes to shit, right? Gold is the money of the king. Silver is the money of the gentleman. Go Bitcoin. Yeah, right? And I think Bitcoin is definitely, something to consider in the future. And I think it is going to be something future. I think there's going to be some decentralized type of money source that is not controlled by the governments in the future. And that's good. I saw something from Gab today, and he's like, it's good that they're attacking me and doing this, because this is going to incentivize more and more people to use Bitcoin, to use these things, and move away from these other type of platforms, etc. Right? So, like I said, the things what creates invention usually is necessity, is the need for something. So all this attacking that they're doing towards right wingers right now, remember that it's making us better. It's making us stronger. It's making us smarter to figure, because we're the ones that are having to face these challenges that our enemies aren't. Like, it's just like giving a kid in class like an easy time, letting him like pass all of his grades, and then you're being really hard on another kid and making him do all the steps and all this shit. Well, the kid that you're being really hard on is going to be better prepared in his life than the kid that you're giving a slap on the wrist to, that you're doing very little to. So they're hurting themselves to some extent by doing this, because they're going to speed up the creation of something that is going to be able to compete with their monopoly on the information that we are getting as Canadians, because that's what they have. They have a monopoly on information, and they're all working with liberal, leftist, globalist governments. They're all working together to push their fucking narrative and to censor people, because a lot of governments in America and Canada, they're not allowed to censor speech. But if they're working with these governments, and these governments then give these corporations like privileges, tax rate, whatever, then they're going to do whatever that government wants. And they're going to silence the people. Like already in China, I think they got like Google, YouTube, Twitter to silence all these people. Same with Saudi Arabia. They got all these things removed because, they have shares. And Saudi Arabia has a lot of shares in Twitter and a couple of these other countries. So, it's stupid. This is a sales pitch for the NWO currency. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know much about Bitcoin. I'm not going to say that it is this specifically Bitcoin, but there needs to be some way that you can get your money separated from the government and from them controlling your money source, because they're just going to keep printing money, and they're going to devalue the price of your money. So you know what I mean? Like, you can store it, you can hide it, you can put it in a bank, but that is not going to do anything, because what if the one day your dollar is now worth a fucking penny? All that money that you've been keeping under your mattress in the fucking bank is going to be worth nothing. You're going to have to spend $1 million to buy a loaf of bread, like they do in fucking Venezuela or something. Like you'll have to bring a fucking truckload of cash to buy groceries or something, right? Your money's gonna be worthless. So there needs to be something, I don't know what, but I think gold will always hold its value, right? And I know Peter Schiff shills gold a lot and says that, you should buy gold, but he also has kind of a bias to that, because he also sells gold and sells, markets of gold. But then again, it doesn't degrade. It stays the same. It's always valuable. You know, gold is in all of our electronics, you know, like it used to just be for looks and gaudiness and stuff, but it has a lot of value in electronics nowadays, especially. So it will always have value, because even without money, we still have the ability to make electronics, and people will want the gold to do that. But, you know, we're selling all of our fucking gold. Buy pets, eat them in emergency times. Yeah, good point, man. That's very true. That's very true, Mike. Gold and computer parts, right. Yeah, I don't want to eat my cat. You guys want me to eat my fucking cat? Are you kidding me? I'll never do that. Buy more ammo. It's going to be currency of the future. That's true. You know, currency in the sense of like having a gun and pointing at someone, but give me your fucking shit. I need food. Give me your food. But yeah, you know, or just for hunting, you know, guns will always have a good use. You know what, you want to go back to hunting with bows and arrows and shit, and you know, good luck. You know, it's a lot easier setting a trap and shooting them with a gun. And it's like, oh, you're taking the sport out of it. It's like, man, if you're fucking hungry, who the fuck cares? Set up a trap, let them come, and then shoot them. When they're trapped, then you get some fucking food. It's a quick, painless death. It's like, oh, but you should go and run after that animal and use a bow because, you know, you're not a real man or something. It's like, shut the fuck up. We're hungry. We need to eat. We're going to go shoot something. But yeah, bow hunting would be cool. You know, there are some pretty cool bows that are pretty powerful nowadays that you can, like, you know, shoot right through a fucking animal. I was watching one video of this guy. He killed a moose, and he's standing there with a bow, and he's like bringing the moose closer, and the moose kind of walks right in front of him, and he shoots at like point blank range with the bow, and then the moose like runs away and dies. But I was like, that was pretty crazy. That would be scary as shit. Moose are huge, big, scary animals that I would not fuck with. But you know, there's a lot of this stupid shit on Twitter. I also found this one woman who, you know, this type of shit really makes me mad. Kathleen London, an MD, and she has a blue check mark. And she's like, on behalf of all women, I apologize to all men who feel psychologically damaged from their circumcision. Go get help. Mansplaining, male fragility, yada, yada, yada. And, you know, if you go to her Twitter, Kathleen London, MD, like, it's just a leftist fucking hellhole. And the funny thing is you're looking at her tweets, and she's like, oh, circumcision, it's actually anti-Semitic, or being anti-circumcision is anti-Semitic, and it's also anti-Muslim. You know, if you go and you find on her fucking feed, you'll see a couple of these tweets. I'll see if I can find them right here. But, you know, being anti-circumcision is now being anti-Muslim and anti-Jewish. But you know what? They're kind of right about that, because I've already told people that this is what we should implement in order to kick out Jews. And, you know, if you're all right, that's going to work for the Muslims too. So, you know, but this is some of the tweets that she was retweeting. So one guy's like Sam Lindsay, just some cuck. I saw a silly Netflix documentary on male circumcision. It was laughable. I, for one, am happy to have been circumcised. And no, it's nothing like the female mutilation that occurs in Africa. And these men on the show who don't feel whole, really? You know, like, how is that hard for these people to believe that men don't feel whole without their foreskin or something, right? Like, they laugh at them. You know, I just did a story about a guy in Winnipeg who did circumcisions on 13 boys, and a lot of them like got irreversible fucking damage. A lot of them had to be sent to the emergency room. And you got these women who make these false comparisons. Anytime you talk about male circumcision, they're like, oh, well, female circumcision is way worse. Well, yeah, it's illegal in a lot of fucking countries already, whereas the other is promoted by tons of fucking people. But you know, this is why I want to make it illegal. You know, because it would also kick out certain people. People wouldn't want to live here, but also, like, you know, it does cause, we don't know necessarily the effects. And I'm not saying you're completely damaged if you had it done and whatever. You are the way you are now, right? You are whatever the way you are. But just the anger and the vitriol and the no sympathy whatsoever that people have for other people that maybe they can't, their dick doesn't function anymore because the doctor fucking cut it wrong. Like this happens a lot. They're acting like it doesn't, you know? And female genital mutilation is bad. Of course it is, but they always have to make this comparison between the two. And it's just like Ari Spears, when he came out, and not Ari Spears, but that black guy, and he talked about how he was sexually assaulted by a gay man. A bunch of women during the Me Too thing, they're like, "You're taking the spotlight away from us, blah, blah, blah. Now you're going to talk about men." And this is what this woman did on her Twitter feed. She's like, "Oh, now they're all these alt-writers are making this about men now, blah, blah, blah." But it's like, you know, I don't know. You have horrible fucking people. Horrible people she was retweeting. I got to find this one tweet because it's just like, yeah, you know, being against circumcision is now fucking bigoted. You know, it's like, you got to be fucking kidding me. See, like, yeah, this is the latest anti-Semitic cry, ban circumcision. And this is an article, the latest anti-Semitic cry, ban circumcision. So now, you know, this dumb bitch is promoting this fucking propaganda. This is bad. You know, it's like, are you fucking kidding me? You gotta be fucking kidding me. What is a pound of flesh worth? Yeah, exactly. I have not come across any research. I've not seen any LGBT groups talking about this, honestly. But you know, they won't talk about it, just like they won't talk about a lot of other things that happen. They're only like, look at that little black girl who was killed in America. The only reason they're talking about it is because they thought it was a white guy that killed her for like 2 weeks. Like I got this thing from St. Hugo right here that I saved. Here, I'll put it in the link as well. You guys can look at it. It says, this is the headline for TYT: manhunt for white man who murdered 7-year-old black girl. Now, this is the title of their fucking shit, right? And then they find out it's actually a black guy who did it. So it's going to be the same with this shit. They don't care about this stuff. They're not going to bring attention to it unless it's, you know, somebody that they don't want talking about it or whatever, you know, like they're just not going to. Oh yeah. And then here, this is this girl's tweet. It would also be anti-Muslim, which is equally important. Or this is, I guess, a guy, I guess, but I don't know. For some reason, I thought he was a girl. Sometimes I troll Trumpsters and I quickly block turd blossoms. Okay, whatever. You know, it's just some dumb fag. But yeah, apparently banning that is against all these religions and shit too. But a lot of ridiculous comments that she was retweeting. I recommend you like look at her fucking feed because it's just ridiculous. And yeah, like I was saying, like I just don't get how women and stuff and like some of these people and some of these dudes too, like just like have no fucking sympathy whatsoever. He's Russian. Yeah, and then here's another guy. It's like, I expect this whole circumcision discussion is about, and the bathroom bill is a distraction thread for the Russian troll farms. So everybody's a Russian. It's designed to divert focus off of our goal of women's rights to choose, childcare, equal pay, and paid maternity leave. Everything else is a sideshow. So like, this girl, she's like the Kathleen girl. She's like, oh, these guys are bringing up circumcision now. It's just to distract us with all these rights, these positive rights of childcare, equal pay, maternity leave, you know, childcare. You need somebody to do that. Maternity leave, you need somebody to do that for you. Whereas all men are asking for is for you not to cut off the tips of our fucking dicks. That's it. That's it. Don't cut off the tips of our dicks. Oh, you're just making this about yourself. I want abortions, and I want this, and I want you guys to give me all these rights, these positive rights, but you just want people to stop cutting off your dicks. Stop distracting from the issue, you fucking patriarchal men or whatever. It's such nonsense. But the and then look, this is another guy. It's like, interesting point, but the anti-circumcision foreskin fetishists are also very anti-science, like the anti-vaxxers and climate change deniers. They refuse to acknowledge the medical health benefits of a circumcised penis. So, you know, yeah. So now where people that are anti-circumcision are fetishist, you know, what the fuck? And, you know, oh, the health benefits, yada, yada, yada. You know, okay, what about there's health benefits to female genital mutilation too? There's some health benefits to that. Does that mean we should do it to them? No. And a lot of the health benefits, they're like, it can easily be cured when you're older, or if you have problems with it, you can just cut it off when you're older, and you have your own consent instead of just doing it to a fucking baby. But yeah, we know we need to ban circumcision, in my opinion, because it's unnecessary, and it's a good way to get certain people out of your country. Because if you want to practice this barbaric practice, which it is a barbaric practice, Jewish people who practice this, you're being barbaric when you're doing this, okay? And Muslim people, you're being barbaric when you're doing this, right? Are there health benefits to veganism? No. It's a horrible diet, and you're killing yourself if you eat a vegan diet. Whatever you do, don't eat a vegan fucking diet. You will kill yourself. Yeah, don't play with me, man. During your research, okay. But, you know, yeah, exactly. Your brain needs fats, right? And I just saw a couple articles from the CBC and stuff promoting veganism, and everything they're promoting is you need to eat low fat this, low fat, low fat, low fat, low fat. We're not getting enough healthy fats in our diets. We're not getting enough cholesterol in our diets. They're like, we need to reduce cholesterol. No, we don't. We don't need to reduce cholesterol, okay? There's two different types of cholesterol, good and a bad cholesterol. So as long as you have the same rates of both these numbers, roughly the same, you're totally fine. And, you know, it's just a lot of poor data that governments are pushing this shit, where there's tons of data to suggest with saturated fats and all this stuff. You know, there's lots of new evidence to suggest it doesn't cause what people say it causes. But, you know, you need fat. It's your body's antifreeze. Right. You know, like, why do polar bears and all these animals have tons of fat around them? It's, you know, to protect them. You joke, but surely athlete's foot is a serious concern. But, well, you know, thank you guys for joining me. I think that's about it. You know, I just wanted to, you know, read that article with you guys and go through it because it was pretty fucking stupid. But, you know, I'm sure you're going to see more of these in the future. But thanks again for joining me. Thank you, everybody, for donating. I really appreciate all of your donations. Thank you, Rainy Steps. And I'm trying to remember who else donated to me. I'm trying. Oh, Slavery McSlaverson. Thank you as well for donating as well. Thanks you. And yeah, thumbs up, guys. If you haven't already, you know, it helps with the video. And that's about it, man. Take it easy, guys. See ya. I gotta move this. I got a really poor, weak setup, so I gotta move like a stack of CDs, essentially, with my webcam on it. Take it easy.